Welcome back, witches and bitches, to another exciting episode of Beyond Dimensional. We are your hosts. I'm Liz,
I'm Lori.
and we are here with a fantastic guest. I'm very excited to welcome him. I say I because Lori has already met him, and she is super lucky that she had some very special time. But I'm going to introduce everyone to Jonathan Robinson. He is a passionate past life regression hypnotherapist who connects people with their higher selves. He guides his clients to recall beyond what most people ever thought possible and helps them to discover who they are on a soul level. Can't wait to get into what that means. His belief that we as humans are the only ones who have the power to shape our destinies is really what empowers him as he guides his clients to fulfill their purpose. I am enthralled already, cannot wait for this, but as I alluded to, Lori actually was able to do a whole past life regression session with Jonathan, so we will get into some of that. But without further ado, Jonathan Robinson, everyone, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We are so stoked to hear more about you. So tell us what is past life regression? I have to understand this.
Yeah. Yeah. So Lori and I did a session and she had some amazing past lives. And I've done this with hundreds of people from all walks of life. And I'm really passionate about it because past life regression is kind of like regression therapy. And we can go back to childhood to find trauma and fix things and mitigate traumas and PTSD. But past life regression is going back even further, and it's the concept of reincarnation, kind of. So it's the concept that we lived many past lives before, we've reincarnated before, and it's kind of like a book that we have many chapters in this book. We're on the chapter of our current incarnation right now, and there's future chapters of pages that haven't been written yet, and the other chapters are past lives that we've lived before.
Interesting. Okay. How did you get into this?
Well, I was asking the universe all these major big questions like who runs the world? What happens after we die? What's the purpose of life? And
Just little things.
just trying to figure this game out, and what's important, because if we understand like what's important to us right here, we can live a more happy life by focusing on what makes us happy. So I was in a health food store one day and some guy said Michael Newton's name, and this book was really amazing. And so I went home, I looked him up, and I was blown away. I couldn't even sleep that night. I was so blown away by what I saw. Michael Newton's a well-known past life regression therapist, kind of like Dolores Cannon. But as a skeptic, I didn't believe it right away. So I started consuming all these spiritual books on past lives, and I guess I have a good bedtime story voice. So I became a hypnotherapist, and every single one of my clients goes into their past lives. Sometimes I don't even say it's past life regression, and you don't even have to believe in it for it to work.
Yeah, I'm astounded. Okay.
So sorry, we're gonna say this name. Okay, you go first, and I'll go.
No, you go. No, you.
Okay.
No, you. Okay.
Here's what's fascinating, and here's what got me so excited about having my reading with Jonathan is one, we are familiar, and you're familiar with now the concept of Akashic records, right? So when you have an Akashic records readings, they go back and they read and give you information on your past lives. And then it can tell you how your past life intersects to this life and a lot of those types of things, which is great. And I've had a couple of those and I think they're amazing. However, what Jonathan does that I have not heard of, a past life regression where you are actually the one walking through your past life. He's guiding you through it, but you're the one talking through it. So to me already that was fascinating because it was very different. The other thing was, and I said on our Leslie Wells episode, can't remember which number it is, but check out Leslie because she's amazing. She's a hypnotist as well. I said, I can't be hypnotized. I mean, I had gone to hypnotherapist in my past. It never worked. And she's the one that said, your mind is like a vault, right? And everything that's in there is locked up and you have to open it. So I kept thinking before I met with Jonathan, I'm like, okay, I got to open the vault. I got to let this happen. So I visualized that literally. Like as we started, I visualized this vault and I'm standing there and he's standing there and I'm opening the vault and I'm letting him access. Like I did this whole thing. And I like to think that helped because I gave myself permission or I gave him permission to access or help me access because it absolutely worked. And it didn't there was no like pause or wait. I mean, it was pretty much immediately, if I remember correctly. There was nothing difficult about it. So, love that. You could say to someone during a reading, Jonathan, or you can meet with someone and just go, we're going to talk through, you know, A, B, and C. You could still get them there because you're very skilled at, you know, working through that process. And people are vulnerable with you because you're easy to trust. So I'm putting that out there for everyone who needs and wants a past life regression. I definitely recommend contacting Jonathan because it was amazing. And definitely appreciated the way that he handled it and what we did. So I'll continue to rave about that. But I think that was the most fascinating thing for me. And also what's different from what hypnosis is, again, to my understanding and my experience in past when it didn't really work, is when you're in hypnosis and you go under, as they say, you might not remember everything that's happening, or you might be out of control. Like, you know, if you're doing magic for fun, we were talking a little bit about this before we started, you know, you can put someone in a different state and have them do something outside of character, right? That wasn't this experience for me. I was there. I knew what was going on, but my voice was in my reading. I have a reading voice. It was definitely my reading voice. Because when I read people, I'm a lot more calm and even keeled than I am now when I'm always talking crazy. And that's my personality, right? So it definitely took me to that space. And I was able to walk through it. So all of that to me made it really different and special. And I think it's like everyone should do it, because there were a few things that came out of the experience from the past lives that totally connect to this life. So I don't know, Jonathan, what do you remember about our reading? I'll give it to you.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Appreciate that. And I have met other past life regression like readers that read you their version of what your past lives are. And when I do it, and a lot of hypnotists do it, the way I do it is you experience your past lives like a movie, like a dream, and you're going through all the, you know, things and emotions, but I'm there guiding you. So if anything like happens, we can work through it, learn from it, and clear that karma so you can live a better, more fulfilled life currently. And I see a lot of patterns and cycles of these hundreds of sessions that I've done. People that were psychics may have been a healer in past lives. People that were Reiki practitioners may have been Reiki practitioners, or like medicine men or shaman in their past lives. Well, as if you're going through a tough time in relationships, you might get brought back to a tough relationship in your past life to know that, you know, you went through this before, you're trying to learn the lessons, and the universe will continue to test you until you pass the test. But your personality transfers over, and your style and like core values, but you change bodies when you go into different you know, incarnations. Your session was super unique because you're a psychic, so in this life, and so you were able to see things very vividly and clearly and get so much information. And I really liked the stories that you told because they were so detailed, and they were, you know, can I tell them
Yeah,
a little bit?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went to Lori's past lives, and she was well, I would call you a healer. You're a spiritual healer, but they would call you back then in the 1800s like a witch, right?
Yep. Yeah, of course.
Earned at the stake. We knew it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty wild. I was in a family who was definitely not in agreement with any of those concepts for sure. But I had, and tell me if you remember, if I remember this correctly, but I had a sister, younger sister, that saw things the way that I did. She also had visions and was psychic in her own way. And I was trying to teach her how to use her abilities in that life.
Yeah, and it's wild how we can have those little details, those minor details about your connection with family members or parents or friends. And you had spells that you were able to do. And it made a lot of sense that you're asked, like what you were doing was more like spiritual healers and Reiki rather than witchcraft. I think you were helping people.
Yeah. Well, I was kidnapping kids to get them out of their households, right? Like,
I was like, was there a Hansel and Gretel situation? I was like, what are
this
you
is
doing over
wild.
there?
I mean, and I'm not remembering exactly how it started. There was a kid that was being abused, right, in a family, and I took
Yeah.
daughter and helped her escape to another family.
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, the parents were just evil, bad people
Yeah.
abusing the kids, and you were able to help them escape and live a better life somewhere else. But to do it, you had to use your powers, your witchcraft powers, to one change, get them out of the house. You did something with their mind to make them kind of confused about what they're doing, and it was really, really, really in depth.
Yeah, I ended up burning their house, didn't I? Did I
Yeah,
burn
after
the
you
parents' house?
saved all the kids, yeah,
Yeah, I burned their house.
yeah, in people might think, oh, she just thought of it and it burned down. No,
No.
it was like she was using the like opportunities. Like there was a candle waving in the window, and she was able to get the wind to blow a certain way, and it blew the candle over, and there was like a mat that was flammable that went up in flames. So like you used your surroundings,
Energy.
Cool. Like a
energy. Yeah,
movie. That's fun.
It
yeah.
was really cool. And the second one, I was a boy in Greece and I was making potions and medicine, right?
And you were able to see people's auras really
That's right.
vividly
That's
in
right.
colors, and you're able to help them. Like you would see what's wrong with their aura, like aura is like a shield around us, and you're able to see where their weaknesses were, so you could give them the right frequency of herbs to help them.
Yeah. So fascinating, right? I mean, it goes to what you're saying. It's like we have, themes in lives. It might not be all of them, all hundreds of them, or how many we've had might not all be exactly connected, but there tends to be a theme, at least in the most recent 50 past lives. I don't know how far back. I think the first one I had to be in the 1800s. The second one, maybe 1900. It was a while ago. I didn't get that information from an Akashic Records reading. It wasn't that detailed because they can't access it the way that you can, or, with the right person leading you
Yeah.
through it. I think you can really access your own information with a
Yeah.
lot of detail. So I thought that was a lot of fun.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
absolutely.
That's super cool. I have so many questions sitting here. I'm just like, okay, I won't go all the way back, but I just like immediate question because you're talking about having the similar through line and personality traits and things like that. Is that referring to like your soul is the same, but it changes bodies? And if that's true,
Mm.
how do you feel and how do you kind of measure on the frequency of soul contracts and like astrology and your soul entering your body at the point of birth or like the sun alignments, whatever? Like are those totally outrageous to you or like how does that reconcile?
Yeah, I think it all intertwines, and Akashic Records does kind of go hand in hand with past lives. So, from my understanding, what happens after we die is we leave our body, we're met with our spirit guide and or close family member in that life. We go up, up, up to the spirit world to go to a healing, like from trauma, earth trauma, and we get healed from that. We meet with our spirit group, which is a group of 10 to 20 like-minded or vibrational spirits in our soul family. We can play around, visit people that are still in 3D. We go to like something like the Akashic Records to learn more and gather more information, and we plan our next incarnation. And our next incarnation, we have a choices, kind of like a list of 5 choices, as well as the council and our guides kind of choose for us, but we have a say in that. What we like to accomplish, our soul's contracts, challenges that we like to face, obstacles, and a say in like what we want to learn that life, who our parents are, and when we're born would correlate with the astrology.
I'm thinking about this almost like one of those personality tests to determine what kind of job you're meant for. It's like, let's fill out all the different things, the qualities that we want in our family. And like, it's just like, bing, and it's just like a shoots out. I'm like, this is how my brain is reconciling this information. That's so interesting. Okay. Because look, I am intuitive, but I'm not by any means psychic or all those things.
Not yet.
Not yet, but
You're working on it.
yeah, but I mean, this whole, what Lori and I are doing here, a lot of it from my end is just learning, right? So I love that you said at the beginning, you're like, okay, someone mentioned this book in passing, and first of all, like I do believe that there's like everything's meant to happen for a reason, kind of thing, where it's like you were the one that was walking by when that was said, and you were present enough to notice it. So that for me is like interesting. Um, you said that you were pretty skeptical at first. So I would love to understand, first of all, what about it was super skeptical for you and why? Like where did you start? And then how did that journey evolve for you? And like Was there a tipping point where like suddenly you were like, my God, this makes sense. I'm embodying this whole thing. And here we are. And I'm a
And
hypnotherapist.
this is Liz going, asking for a friend. Like it's not her.
Asking for a friend.
This is totally her skeptical side and how it would work for her.
The little devil on my shoulder going, this is hilarious. But also mine going, this could totally be real.
I just met you, Liz, but I like you already. So great questions. And I am a skeptic. So I need to know, I need to see proof. I need to see correlations and map everything out, connect the dots. And what is our purpose? Why are we here? What happens after we die? Why is there 8 billion people, but no one knows the answer? So, religions, I think they are wonderful, and they start off as, and I think there's positive aspects to all of them. And I love all of them. I like to take the best pieces of them and kind of combine it into what I do, which is spirituality. And I have that. How I kind of became not a skeptic anymore was, one, reading the books and seeing that there's tens of thousands of people from all walks of life, probably hundreds of thousands now, that has done past life regression. And we do the same experiment on each person, ask the same questions, and we get similar answers of what happens in the spirit world, what happens after we die. The differences are the past lives are different, because each past life that you see, the higher self brings you to the correct moments for you to currently learn from the most. So in 5 years from now, Lori will go to different past lives to learn different tasks or challenges, lessons that she, are different 5 years from now. So all these people, and you can do it with people that don't even believe in past lives. You can go to dreams, you can go to visions. I did an alien abduction. Someone couldn't remember like what happened, and they got abducted they thought they had a close encounter, and I hypnotized them to go back to that moment to learn more about that. But we're going a little bit off track. I want to get back to skeptics. So the past life regression, hundreds of thousands of people have done it. They've even just posted a story about this kid who had a birthmark on his forehead, and he saw someone in town. It wasn't in America, it was a different town. He pointed at them. It was like a 4-year-old. 4-year-olds and kids under 8 operate in theta frequency, so the frequency of hypnosis. So they can sometimes remember their past lives, see auras. And this kid pointed at this guy and said, "You killed me. You killed me in the past life." And the guy's face got white as a ghost.
Wow.
And his parents thought that was weird. And he's like, you buried me in your backyard. So they went to this guy's backyard, the farmer's backyard, and they dug up and they found a skeleton with a mark right in his in his skull, right there. And he killed him with an axe, buried him in the backyard, found his body. So that's just one story of a lot of different stories of children's past lives.
Like Olivia, my mom's Olivia.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, I don't know if you probably had a chance to listen to this episode, but my mom said she had a girl that was like 5 or 6 at her work come up, and my mom's like, "Hi, I'm Karen." She's like, "I knew you from heaven." And it was this whole thing, and my mom's like, so it's just wild. I think it's very true, and I mean, I know intuitively, and I've seen that children, remember and see all of those things, but that is so wild, because it's a murder and some kid being like, "You murdered me and you buried me here," and then there's a skull. I can't.
Yeah, physical evidence.
And also parents that were like, my kid is totally onto something, and like the fact that they were like, not just like, "Okay, Johnny, calm down, let's go play with toys," they were just like, "Oh, yeah, this kid's feeling really emblazoned, and we should go dig in the backyard of this man." Like, how did they get a warrant for something like this? Like, what was the farmer was like, "Cool, yeah, go dig in my backyard." Like, what?
Yeah, Liz is like, "I want to see the evidence. I want to see the warrant. I want the whole trial information." This is how her skepticism goes. I get it though. I totally
Down
get it.
the rabbit hole.
I definitely think I have to get my mom a session with you, Jonathan. It just totally sparked to my mind, because she's got definitely some interesting witch history, I'm sure.
Past lives, hundreds of thousands of people do past life regression. It's repeatable. You get the same answers over and over and over again. Yep. Children's past lives. Jim Tucker out of the University of Virginia has 2 books and thousands of cases of children, even more crazy stories than I just told you. Spiritual mediums and psychics and channelers report similar things happening in the spirit world. plant medicine like ayahuasca, we can see beyond the veil. I'm into the spirit world, and spiritual books like Autobiography of a Yogi, and I mean the past life books, of course. But these gurus throughout time have talked about things like this, and near death experiences. I almost forgot NDEs. They're dead, their consciousness, their heart stopped. How do they report back what's happening to their body? And if they're dead. So lots of stories like that. So all those combined all correlate. So if it was just one, that's whatever. But I think all of these combined, they all correlate. That's significant evidence.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what helps me, because I'm a skeptic. I'm still a skeptic. I'm a skeptic of everything I see all the time. I mean, it's definitely something that I have to keep working on. But the repeated history, the repeated patterns of the same things, I mean, that's a fact at some point. It can, that's a trend of evidence that you can't ignore. And we've talked about it in different episodes with mediums. We have almost identical stories or some thread of something that's really clearly the same that we identify as to get us where we are. So I think it's very, very interesting.
Cool. So you mentioned also that some people aren't coming to you for hypnotherapy for past life regression, or maybe that was just at the beginning and now mostly what you do is this, but they somehow get there anyway. So why did they come to you in the first place? Like what was the goal for the hypnotherapy to then get, I guess, to the end point and result of, oh, that was actually a past life you experienced and you didn't know?
Good question.
Yeah, well, let's see. A lot of people do come to me for past lives because my Instagram, I post about it, and that's where you can find me. I'll share that with you later on in the episode. But I've been helping people with clinical hypnotherapy. I started off with that. I knew I always wanted to do past lives though, so I did both. But I had one client who said, "Oh, I have hip pain, and I don't know where it comes from. I've tried all these things, and I don't know, what's wrong." And I said, "Oh, well, are you open to a spiritual session?" They're like, "Yeah." So we did a spiritual session, and I guided them, and I said, "Bring me to the source of your pain." And it brought him to, he was on a wagon in like the 1800s, and he fell off onto his hip and broke his hip, and he almost died, or he did perish. And that was the source of his hip pain that he had no idea about. So that might be an example of.
Did the hip pain go away?
Yes, it did go away. Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I do some techniques, some Reiki and some trauma release stuff. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about that. We talked about, I think me was allergies, and then I can't smell. And we were talking about some of that and kind of where it came from. And, that for me, it's more connected to emotions than anything physical. If someone had a question like that, they could go to you and you'd be able to help find that. And I think you're right. It comes from somewhere, and it might not be this life. It could be, but it might not be.
Yeah, there's other hypnotists that specialize in allergies, but allergies are a lot of times can be like 95% of them could be possibly, if you tried it, healed with hypnosis, because sometimes I guess they used to make vaccines with eggs and chicken eggs, and people were getting allergic to chicken eggs because they were like, it was a shock to the system. And then the subconscious says, "Hey, stay away from these chicken eggs. They're very dangerous." And so people are getting allergic to that. And now they do them out of snake eggs. But if there's like a shock and you get stung by a bee, your subconscious might try to protect you from that by overreacting. And so with hypnosis, we can go back to the moment, learn the lessons, release the trauma energy, and release that allergy.
Yeah. It's cool because different hypnotherapists do have different specialties or different areas that they focus on. But really, there's definitely a way to use hypnotherapy in so many different things. Like Leslie, who I referenced, I mean, she does hypnotherapy, but hers is different. Her specialty is more trauma related, addiction related. She works a lot with men because men have a high suicide rate. So it's like a different thing. But if I went to her and asked her to do past life regression, she might have an idea, but it's not her specialty. It might not be the focus or the practice that she has, right? You can have a million different practitioners, but people do different things for different clients for different reasons, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I love past lives, so that's why I specialize in that. I can do other things, but I love the stories and curiosity. And I started out doing this for like curiosity about like history and Atlantis and Lemuria and Egypt and stuff. But really the joy and the impact is just a mundane life that I'm able to help them relieve trauma from now. So, yeah.
That's so cool.
What is your take on Dolores Cannon? Have you
Yeah,
studied?
love all her books. I've read most of her books, probably all of her books, some of them more than once. And
Yeah.
so amazing. The stories that she tells are
Wild.
pretty wild, and I'm getting the same results in my sessions. So I used to be a huge skeptic of some of the stories, but now I'm like, how do I'm getting some stories like that in my sessions. So it's all just perspective on how people interpret what's happening in this non form world.
Do you get people talking about alien, that they were aliens or have regular contact with aliens, or, a lot of that she talks about ETs and those experiences. Have you experienced that with your sessions as well?
Yeah, sometimes some people feel like they're not from here. They're alone. They don't fit in. They might be, they could be from another planet. They could be.
Yeah.
A lot of people are incarnating from Palladian and Syrian and Arcturian places and Syrian. And what I've realized though is a lot of these aliens or ETs, they're mostly friendly. So they're
Yep.
mostly friendly. There could be some reptilians that are negative and dark ones, but most of them are friendly. And it actually could be our own kind checking on ourselves. So when we get abducted or they abduct us, it could be our own parallel life as a ET checking on ourselves, giving us downloads, monitoring us, then putting us back. So that's a lot of times what I've realized.
Interesting.
I know. It's so
We
fascinating.
say in surround sound. Just,
Yeah.
I almost feel hypnotized by just listening to this. Okay, I'm sorry to go back to the killer thing, not the serial killer thing, but we were just talking about serial killers.
Oh.
Just somebody else.
Yeah. I have a question about that. You
Yeah,
are probably thinking the same thing, but you go first.
Okay. Well, I mean, keeping in mind that probably someone who's a serial killer or someone who has, dark thoughts about murdering people probably isn't coming to you to be like, tell me about my past lives. But have you ever had someone experience a life where they were something, or Lori and I would maybe say they were an evil person or someone who's done something crazy or terrible and like, I don't know. And then I have to hear about like the crazy, like the one that you were like, whoa, that was cool. Like in all your experience, like from skeptic to now, like where were you? Like you left it and you were like, yeah, this was great. I want to hear that one.
Totally.
Wow, yeah, I haven't had like a ton of serial killers on the show or
Yeah.
on my list. I have a lot of holistic healers, like other Reiki or hypnotists or acupuncturists will come to me. So I really love the spiritual folks that I vibrate with that come to me for sessions because they're oftentimes healers in past lives. So no, I haven't had a lot of that. I have had someone with deep shame and guilt, and they're such a nice person in this life. They didn't know where it comes from. And in a past life, they were like the leader of an army and they led everyone into a battle and they all got wiped out and demolished. And they just had this deep, maybe they were tortured and died and they had a deep sense of shame and longing. And we were able to clear that.
Okay, so I have to ask this before we go on. So we talked to a psychologist. Her name is Melissa Kim Corder. She's freaking amazing. She's also psychic, intuitive, everything else. But she studied serial killers. And we talked to her about good and evil. And, she explained the concept or the idea that maybe it's not about good and evil. It's about trauma and how it impacts the response of these individuals, et cetera, et cetera. Super interesting way of thinking of things. But one thing that I had said to her where I get stuck is on the karma and soul contracts and all that, because I believe in karma. I believe everything you said as far as soul families and the process. I've seen that way. I'm still stuck and can't get my mind around who chooses to come back as a Ted Bundy. Like, how does it work from what you understand, if you even have really spent time, because, we're sick and dark, so we're over here thinking about the crazy stuff. I'm fascinated by humans and how we think and the psychology of things. And putting that into perspective with the spiritual, psychic, intuitive stuff really messes up my head sometimes. Because I'm like, I get it, but I don't. I don't understand how someone's life lesson is to come back and be an evil person. Now, whether they, you want to say evil's real or not real or whatever. I mean, the act is evil. Even if they're not evil, but the act is evil. Why? Do you see, have you ever experienced anything or any understanding about that? I know I'm just like on a tangent, but.
That's okay. I'm a wizard. I like hanging out with witches, so we
Great.
can talk about
Yay! I
all the
love that about
magic.
you.
Yeah, so I had this one guy in a session, and we were talking about had trust issues, and he was walking in the street in a busy city in London at midnight, and he got stabbed by all these people in the alleyway.
Oh gosh.
And he said, I'm like, who stabbed you? He's like, oh, these are my friends. I'm like, your friends? What do you mean your friends? He's like, yeah, all of these people that stabbed me are from my spirit group. My life was going completely off the rails. I was going to go down this horrible path. And then they stabbed me and I almost died, but he survived and he completely changed his life afterward. So the spirit world thinks it's a game. It's a joke. It's, all this stuff is just for play. But in reality, we feel the pain and the hurt. But think about any near-death experience someone's had. A lot of times they change their lives completely for the better. So that's one way to look at it. Like we humans, we don't change and we're comfortable. We don't change unless we absolutely have to. So we need that challenge to overcome, to evolve and get better and grow. Yeah. And then the other thing was, I've had Dolores Cannon talks about Hitler, for example, and he was so creative, but he was so driven. He had all these, his astrology chart was crazy, and he was so driven. If he would have pursued painting, he would have excelled at that and been a world famous painter and wouldn't have done all that terrible things. And what's the karma for him? Well, it's not exactly an eye for an eye. Sometimes it is.
6 million eyes.
If you murder someone, you might come back and be the one that gets murdered, and you have to kind of switch around. If you're like maybe discrimination against a culture, maybe you'll come back as that culture to be discriminated against. So there is balance. The universe needs balance. So there is that, but it's not exactly like an eye for an eye all the time.
We talked about, and with karma, Liz and I'm always thinking about my behaviors and actions impacting my karma, because I don't want to come back and have to have some crazy stuff going on. So everything I do, I'm like, okay, is this bad? Would I be upset if this happened to me? Because I don't want to come back as a cockroach or something disgusting. So yeah, totally. It's pretty wild.
They usually don't come back as animals. The movie Soul, by the way, Pixar, is a really great example. Yeah, it's really great. But so I like it. I'm for it, except for the cat part. That's comical. The people, you're a person. You don't come back as a cat.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. So all the furries out there who are claiming that they're animals and that they're cats. No.
Stop.
No. Just stop, guys.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna get off that path. But I have a question from a member of the audience. Now, I mentioned to a girlfriend that we were gonna talk to today, and she was like, I have to know this. I was like, okay. She feels, and this is obviously only going to be based on the experiences you've come to know and the books you've read and all those things, but she feels that she and her husband are not a twin flame situation. They're not soulmates. She actually feels like they at one point in a previous life shared or embodied the same physical form, because she has this feeling, or maybe they were one soul that split or something, where because they oftentimes are performing the same action at the same time. And it's more than just like finishing each other's sandwiches. You know what I mean? So she asks from the ether.
And she's an intuitive person too.
Yes.
She's pretty intuitive. That's interesting. Yeah.
Was she twins with them? Because that sounds like twins.
Ooh, maybe they were just twins.
That makes sense to me. I don't feel that they embodied the same physical person unless, to your point, they were
They were an
joined as
egg. Maybe they were an egg.
then maybe that would make sense to me.
Yeah. I didn't
Yeah,
even think about
maybe
that as being a thing, but maybe they were identical twins.
Maybe, yeah, there's like something called a walk-in where it's very rare. So that would be
Right.
very rare if the soul split like that. It could, I'm at this point, I'm open to all possibilities. There's something called a walk-in where I mean, we can see a imprint. So we all don't have to live the life of Jesus and Buddha to get to learn the lessons from it. So we can, while we're in the spirit world, go to the Akashic records and get an imprint of that. So
Yeah.
kind of relive what happened and get an imprint of that so we can learn the lessons and then take the value from it. There's a walk-in, which is very rare as well. And that's like if the soul decides to leave the body and the body is a perfectly good vehicle and it's not dead, another soul could come in a year later or that same day, or maybe it's 4 years old and then the personality completely changes. That could be a walk-in scenario.
Wow. Yeah.
Crazy. Or like
Fascinating.
possession.
It's not exactly possession. So just everyone listening, don't invite anything in. You're in a graveyard, don't invite anything in. I've never had any stories of possession if you don't invite them in. So if your aura is weak, so there's ghosts and then there's like entities. There are people that die suddenly and it's like jumping in cold water. They're like, whoa, what just happened? And maybe there's a grudge, they were murdered and something happened. And then, so they don't want to go back right away. There's like an emotion that's trapped in that house. So they'll haunt the house for a little bit and it's their decision. We have free will to go back up. So it's their decision to stay. And usually if you have a ghost clearer, which is just a nice Reiki person that can go there and give them an option, talk to them like they're, you love them and tell them what's best for them. Like maybe go back up and, heal yourself. So ghost, then there's and this is what I've just learned is the entities, typically they don't just enter someone's body. They can't do that. There's like a universal like laws and we're not allowed to do that. But if you invite them in, they can. So all you playing Ouija boards out there, don't invite them in if you don't have to.
That's wild. Super cool. So as a soul, since, in the understanding that you walked us through, go up, okay, there's a lot of thoughts here. And Laura, you're going to have to do a lot of splicing right now because I'm putting my thoughts together. First question. My soul, do you feel like soul contracts, like the understanding is they've kind of previewed into the life that's expected? I know we have free will, and that's something you've already expressed that you also understand and think. There's kind of a preview of what the life choices and decisions could be in a lifespan, and then they're like, okay, I'll hop into this one. I've checked all my boxes of like these parents on this continent and this time of birth, right? Does that also mean that our souls are choosing when we are when we've learned our lesson here and like our death essentially is a choice that's been made?
Are you talking
about
enlightenment versus reincarnation?
We have an incoming plan and an outgoing plan. So we have an incarnation plan and an exit plan.
Yeah.
When we come in, we have free will once we're here, though. There's not like, I don't think fate or destiny, it's all just set in stone. I think that we have a plan and like a play, but you can go off script. You can better yourself. You can create positive ripples. So, but yeah, everything happens for a reason. So there's a silver lining to even negative things. But yeah, we have an incarnation plan and an exit plan. We're going to die, in this physical, they say.
I don't think that we see, and you tell me, Jonathan, what your thoughts are, but from what I've seen and what I understand, I don't think that when we're reincarnating and we're with the soul group and we're talking about kind of what's next, I don't think we see a flash of the whole life because it's not yet entirely been determined because you do have free will. But the lessons that you need to learn and should learn as a priority when you go back in reincarnation is more what the focus is on. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I believe there is certain challenges or lessons that we want to make or want to do in this lifetime. Like for example, for me, my spirit guide, he's always messing around in the background and he will never show himself or talk to me. So one of the challenges this lifetime is I'm playing it on hard mode where I can't, get help from them as much, whereas other people might get more guidance, I think. But so we have like a plan of what we want to learn this lifetime, what we want to accomplish. We want to help others. We want to evolve and grow, and we want to have fun and celebrate on this beautiful planet too.
Yeah. I'm just I was just kind of like thinking, like, could I do some soul work and be like, all right, you're going to live to 120 because I'm deciding that like my soul's going to be here longer than everyone else. I'm curious like how you can do the soul work and the healing stuff to maybe like change your destiny in a weird way. If that's not destiny, I mean, but your plan, the exit plan. I don't know. Like there's so many fun ideas of what you could do now if you could actually access all of these spiritual things.
I'm always ask for help. They keep telling me, ask for help. Love is the only way. Keep asking for help. They can't interfere unless you ask. So keep asking your guides and spirit group to help, and loved ones that may have passed to help you. And they can if you ask. But yeah, I mean, really the highest vibration is love and true authentic self, authenticity. So being your true authentic self, no shields put up. When we're a kid, we just have like a group. I'm a substitute teacher as well, and there's like a group consciousness in these schools when elementary school, but by high school they're all individuals and they have their individual things that they're doing, loners, and it's like we put a shield up so we don't get made fun of or hurt or something doesn't happen to us at some point, and we're all just pieces of this puzzle, and we're all unique and different, and we should just be ourselves as long as it helps more than one person. I'll just be your true authentic self. That's the highest vibration.
Yep. And it's the hardest one to get to. I mean, it's definitely a challenge, right? Like it goes with letting go of people's perceptions of you, not worrying about anything like vanity, not worrying about all these things that we are from a societal perspective. And then also depending on your family and how you grew up. I mean, we're taught are so important, right? And really learning to kind of drop all those things and just move on to be who you are and screw everybody else and what they think, because it just doesn't really matter. I hope to get there in my life, but man, it's tough. It's definitely tough. It's not for
You're doing so well, Laura. You're so unique and special. I mean, your session you did with me was absolutely amazing.
Thank you. That was fun. That was a fun session for sure.
Yeah, Lori did a reading for me after I did a past life session for her, and I was blown away. So,
yeah,
well,
it was fun.
We're all ears if you're willing, but I mean, Lori occasionally, it's hard for her to read me because we're so close, but she'll occasionally like pop in and be like, that's right. That's not right. That's right. That's not right. It's like, great. Love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. When I read someone, I don't really remember all the details. So I'm so focused on, also I channel a lot, right? So I'm not processing all the information. So it's a little different. But I would say we found out some good stuff, and I'm always still shocked when I get something right. Like it's such a thing where, because I'm a skeptic, and even though it's 1,000 times I can read someone and get all these crazy things correct, I'm still like, oh, how did I get that? And it's just part of the process.
yeah, trusting the process is what, you're getting like an apple and a boat and a life preserver, and you're like, what the heck does this mean? But it means something to the person you're reading. And so you're just trusting your intuition to do that. And like for me, I led a group in person here. I'm from Michigan, and we did a group past life session. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they're going to go into it. Someone's going to cough and take everyone out of the trance.
Yeah.
But, it was just like my in-person ones. It was a little bit less customized to the person. I couldn't guide them individually, but they all went into their past lives. And I was so happy. It's such a great group what we have here. And it was a really good experience. So even if we don't know, we just got to trust ourselves and just do it.
Tell me how the group works. So, you're guiding them, as a group. How do they talk through the past life if there's a group? Like, how does it work?
Very similar to what we did, but instead of asking, tell me about, we're off the cloud now. Tell me about what you see around you.
Yeah.
Where's your home at? Go to an important day. So it's instead of them talking and reporting back to me, I'm just asking more vague questions like, look around you. What's around you? Let's go over here now. So really, I would like for you, I would dive into more of the witchcraft, and I'm like, read me the spell book and go to
Yeah.
a day where you're doing a spell. I can't really do that as a group because I don't know what everyone's doing.
Right.
I just have to trust my intuition as well.
Yeah.
Like some people were going to the places where before I even said it, like telepathy. And then I had them journal afterwards. So they journaled everything
That's
down.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Do you do any channeling or you're just leading it? Like, can you see could you see a little bit of Lori's story as she was experiencing it in her mind's eye?
I wish I could see things like her, but I get glimpses and things like that. I use my intuition. I'm really open, but I cannot say I do what she does.
Yeah, that's super cool. So our soul itself, our energy is carrying around the energy from all past lives, and we could technically access any of those experiences at any given point if you were to just open the synapse. I don't even know if I'm using that term right, but yes,
Isn't
open
that
the
wild? Because I think like our
Yeah.
human brain is like this old and it's physical matter. And how can it have information in it from a different lifetime that's not in this incarnate? I'm blown away every time because how does that, happen? How does that work? The mind is, it's more like an energy than a physical thing. So that blows me away as well, how it works. We can't conceptualize that with our human mind, probably.
No, definitely not. When you do multiple sessions with people, can you lead them further down the same story, or is it usually you see different lives each time? How does that work?
Well, if it's really interesting, we'll go back. Well, I have the higher self guide us because I can't possibly know what their past lives are and they don't consciously know. So I'm convinced it's a higher power that's guiding us the whole way. And I trust the higher self. So that's what's guiding us to view what's most relevant to this moment in time right now to learn from. Now, say, for example, they have a birthmark on their heart or their neck and they want to know and get to the bottom of it. Well, I can guide them to, hey, bring me to the incarnation or bring me to the past experience. I'm very vague with it that the birthmark is from on the right thigh. And they'll go to that time and we'll go to the day it happened. And usually it's a traumatic event. This one person was hiking in the woods and they had a birthmark on their thigh. They fell down the mountain and they got stabbed and impaled with a stick.
Oh.
They broke a leg. They got really hurt. They pulled the stick out and they eventually bled to death. While she had a birthmark on her right thigh and she was scared of hiking in the woods alone this life.
Totally makes sense.
Ooh, maybe I got a shark bite. I was born with a birthmark that was about this big on my right calf, and it was removed when I was about 7, and I had like 85 stitches. It was insanely huge, deep.
Wait,
But it
it
was
was
just
that deep in your calf?
Yeah.
85 stitches? Like, how
Yeah.
big was it?
it was probably like 2 inches and then like oval, but the pigment went deep, and they removed it because the dermatologist was afraid that as I grew up, it would morph and become cancerous. So he's like, let's just take it out. So I've had a scar there since I was 7, and I'm just so curious now. I was like, maybe I was like bitten by a shark because I don't like deep, dark waters. So I was like, now I'm curious, Jonathan. Now we have to
I'm
get.
curious too.
Ew.
Hey, if between Lori and me, we can figure it out.
I'm saying I think
Yeah.
I probably know. I think I know. What did the bite look like?
Oh,
Do you
I
have
don't know what if
picture of it?
it's
Did you
not a
ever
bite.
or the mark? Did they ever have any pictures of it?
From when I was little, I probably could find a picture of it, but it was dark. It was dark and oval, not like black dark. It was like
Yeah.
like a latte.
Yeah, I don't think it was a shark. It was an animal, but it wasn't a shark.
Yeah.
Almost like you were running from something in the woods near water, but not ocean. It looks like river water to me. So like you're out as a kid running from like playing, and then you saw something, and you were with someone, and you started running like to go home, and you're running along the edge of the water, and it was dark out, but it wasn't late. It was like it is now.
Crocodile.
No, I think it was like a wolf. So a wolf, like a wolf
Ooh.
type creature.
Ooh.
It was a long time ago. They're saying it was a long, like almost like when I say wolf, they're like, yeah, that's what it would look like now. But it's not. That's not exactly what it is. So it's very, very old.
That's fun. All right, we're gonna have to have a session, Jonathan. We're gonna have to verify this.
I know.
Yeah.
That's so wild.
Love it.
Yeah,
I'm into
let's
it.
do it. There's people with even worse things than birthmarks, though, like, people fibromyalgia or,
Mhm.
it's just really weird diseases that they have no explanation for. With the
Yeah.
past life session, we could possibly get to the bottom of it and really alleviate these people from, that trauma. So what we
Yeah.
do here
No,
is curious as well as curious.
totally. I'm thinking about a lot of autoimmune diseases. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
My
what's the
daughter,
one? Yeah,
McKenna.
100%. Or yeah, what's the one where you lose all your hair? I'm totally so many people with this. Alopecia. Thank you. Yes. Where it's like there's just like suddenly you have all your hair, and then the next day you're like, oh my God, all my hair is gone. That's crazy. And there's like no explanation.
So many things.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone needs to just get Jonathan's contact information from the show notes.
Yes.
Or follow our page, Beyond Dimensional, on Instagram, because we're going to have the info there as well. Everybody just needs to go find out these things and then let us know so that we can have another episode, after you've read more people and just really talk about what else we found out from our own little trial group.
Yes.
I've already volunteered half my family, which is the 2 that I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
3.
We could focus it on, we'll call it the time traveling detective or something.
Ooh, a new
I
show.
love this.
I like this. Wait for this.
We've
I
got
love it so much.
we'll produce it. Jonathan, we gotta do it. Let's get it done.
Yep. Line up.
Fun.
Get the birthmark people, line them up, and we'll put them in a trance, and we'll figure that out.
Well, I have 4 bites on my back. They're tattooed over, but I was born with 4 round, evenly spaced down the sides, each side of my back, about this big, and they're like little holes in my back that had very light skin over them. No, they're like quarter size. I'll show you sometime. You can't see them now because my whole back is tattooed, but it's there. You can still feel it. But it was always like these weird looking holes in my back with a light covered piece of skin. I should have asked about that. Okay, next session.
Yep.
Oh man,
we missed an opportunity.
That all kinds.
I'm so excited and intrigued.
I think there 2 lives we talked about though, right? We did 2.
Yeah, we did go to two very in-depth ones where we went to multiple scenes where you were helping people with your, I call it sorcery, witchcraft, they called it, but you were hiding from people in secret meetings and talking about helping other women become witches. It was great.
Wild.
Okay, guys, I hate doing this where we have to get to a point where we have to stop, and I'm more intrigued now than I even was at the beginning of this, where I'm just I need more answers. I know we're just gonna have to do more time with Jonathan, but this was amazing. Thank you so much for spending this almost hour now with us. We'll include all of your information in the show notes, but what is the best place and handle for people to find you?
Yeah, so my Instagram and Facebook are my big followings on there, where I post daily spiritual posts and more original content from just focus on past lives and hypnosis. So my Instagram is Journeys into Past Lives. I have underscores instead of spaces. So Journeys _ past into past lives. So, and my website is journeysintopastlives.com. No underscores. So I have a past life quiz and introductory video and just lots of library there, just lots of good content.
And I love that you also offer a free chat session before people schedule. And that's a great opportunity for the people to, just reach out, get the connection with you and really understand what the process is. We'll put the direct links in the show notes so you guys can just click on it and find Jonathan. But like I said, you can also check in with us and we'll be happy to give you more info because we are so stoked. I need as many people as possible doing this past life hypnosis because I'm in love with it. I think it's so great.
Join the trial session.
That's right. It's gonna be a new thing.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's amazing. And if y'all listeners haven't listened to any other episodes, lots of really spiritual people, lots of good episodes. I listened to several before I came on here, and really like the content. So, and it's only going to get better from this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is so kind. We are just so honored that you took this time with us. Thank you. Thanks to everyone who is listening. We hope to see you back again. And as he said, if you haven't listened before, go check out some other episodes. But we can't wait to see you on the next episode of Beyond Dimensional Podcast. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.